Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Jr versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Jr versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
All right, now you may remember, I believe it was the second Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn press conference that happened back in February. Chris Eubank Jr. was talking about the original date of the first fight. It was going to be October, I can't remember the exact date in October, it was going to be October the 8th, thereabouts, 2022. It got pulled, I think it was a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but it got pulled very damn, late in the week. And it obviously meant that fighters who were on the undercard, both respective fighters themselves, nobody got paid. And that's not nice when you're expecting a nice payday, and then for whatever reason, well, we all know the reason, but it doesn't happen. But more so what Eubank was upset about was the fact that, look, he's not short of money. We know that. He's managed his career very well, even though he's not a world champion, never has been a world champion. He's still been able to make millions upon millions. So yeah, the purse would have been, nice. He's going to get it anyway, obviously this next weekend. But it's more so the money for the guys in the undercard that they would have put into training camp, because boxing is a weird one. You look at people like Anthony Joshua, like Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury, etc. And when you see a glimpse into their life outside the ring, it's big houses, cars, expensive watches, all that good stuff. They're in the minority. The majority of fighters, especially those blue-collar fighters, even fighters who are signed to a promoter but are at the very early stages of their career, yeah, they have sponsorship and stuff like that, but they're still putting money into training camps. They're still having to fork out for this, that, the other, equipment, etc., etc. You can't just use the same gloves over and over again. The amount of money, certainly at the lower level, if you're an undercard fighter, so to speak, someone like an Ellie Scottney, who I'm going to talk about now in a sec, the money they're forking out, it's no joke. So, they're going through, they're getting their purse on fight night, of which most of it is going to other people. They're having to put money into training camp as well. And Chris Eubank Jr. was saying that it's not right, the fact that there was fighters on the undercard who were not compensated in any way by Eddie Hearn, what he's saying. So at that press conference, he said that he will be putting out 50 grand and it will be split and divided amongst all the respective fighters, which, that sounds nice. Haven't we heard people before in boxing say that they would donate their entire purse to charity? Did that ever happen? You know who I'm talking about. I don't believe it did. Look, at the end of the day, the money is yours. You do with it what you want to do. It's not my money, it's your money. You've earned it. If you want to donate it to charity, be my guest. Go and do that. But don't tell people you're going to do it and then not do it, right? I don't really approve of that. And Chris Eubank Jr. was saying that, he's going to put 50 grand out towards these fighters, etc., etc. And it sounds like a nice gesture, right? Whether you believe them or not, it sounded like a nice gesture. Well, he posted yesterday, after my scheduled bout with Conor Benn got cancelled, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom never compensated anyone for their training camp, which never sat well with me. So here's a little something to help out the undercard fighters who were left out of pocket. Few boxers didn't want me to give their bank details. Maybe they will now. And he's paid everyone, the fighters who were on the undercard, the Lyndon Arthurs, Ellie Scottneys, Shannon Courtney, she was meant to be on the undercard, Chloe Watson, Matthew Harris, Harlem Eubank, who was meant to be apparently on the undercard, Felix Cash. Remember, he's paid them all basically £3,500. I just rounded off the £3,500. And fighters like Ellie Scottney, now is obviously signed with MVP, with Jake Paul, and you would imagine that's going to be, and I'm delighted for her, I have to say, I really am. What a top girl Ellie Scottney is. Delighted for her for that. But even 3 years ago, she was not probably making that much money, so, and she's tweeted and said basically as much, yes, it's been received, thank you. So whatever you want to say about Chris Eubank Jr., and look, he mentions Eddie Hearn, he mentions Matchroom and stuff like that. There is a subtle dig at Matchroom in there. So, was it the fact that it didn't sit right with him because, morally he felt like, this doesn't sit right with me, I want to help? Or was it a bit of all right, morally it didn't sit right with me, but any chance to take a dig at Eddie Hearn, I will welcome it. So, I say there's a bit of both there. But at the end of the day, when someone says they're going to do something like that, they're going to take 50 grand, and it's been listen, however much Chris Eubank Jr. is going to make, it's been an expensive camp for him. That's 50 grand on top of 100 grand that the board have fined him for the egg incident, which is, I still can't quite get over that they'll find him that much for the egg incident when you consider. There's definitely been, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, but there has been worse things that have got fines, but like nowhere near as much as that. So it's been an expensive camp for Chris Eubank Jr., but credit to him. The fact of the matter is, he's I don't know how much some of these fighters spent in training camp. It could have been more than 3.5 grand, truth be told. But at the end of the day, 3.5 grand, I mean, if someone went up to me and said, here's 3.5 grand, make my whole week, make my whole month, to be honest with you, it would absolutely be, brilliant to me. And I'm sure even for some of those fighters, like an Ellie Scott and Lyndon Arthur, who's fighting next week actually, he's fighting out in the yard, for them, that's got to make a big difference to them as well. Regardless of their status in boxing, who they're managed and promoted by, it's a big difference to them. So credit to Chris Eubank Jr. I give him all the credit in the world for that. He said he'd do it, and he did. And as I said, a lot of people say they're going to do things with their money. And at the end of the day, it's their money, but they say they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that, they don't do any of it. They don't do any of it. And Chris Eubank Jr. did, and he gave it directly to those fighters, which I respect. It wasn't like, it's like, oh, well, I'm sending it to this charity for Ting and this, that, and the other, and, it's like, no, I'm giving it to you directly, which is how it should be. So I'm happy for that. Well done. Shout out to Chris Eubank Jr. And yeah, we're coming into fight week, lads. We're coming into fight week. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. Until next time, peace.